If you're a film photographer, then you're no stranger to surprises, compromise, and quite frankly, disappointment. But getting hurt so bad is part of what makes film photography feel so good when you get things right. Did you just catch that? Yeah, that problem with bulb mode right there, if you didn't catch it, well, stick around because I'll show you how that cost me around $15. This is the story of my first 4x5 images and how I botched them. If you've been watching this channel, then you probably already know that I went ahead and I did something that I've been thinking about for a very long time. I purchased one of these, a 4x5 camera. This is a Graflex Crown Graphic. It is a press camera that was made between 1947 and 1973. Since it's a press camera, it folds up very compact and it is much less expensive than some of the other models that you can get new today, such as a Chamonix or even a Intrepid. So I purchased the Crown Graphic with direction from Nicholas Yacera, who is a photographer and YouTuber who makes amazing educational content. If you're on this channel, you probably migrated from his, so you already know about him. But if you're a new subscriber and you've never heard of Nico, then I highly recommend his content. At the moment, I'm still going through some of his 4x5 videos. He has a few that show you how to get a very minimal and inexpensive 4x5 setup for yourself if you're interested. If I had to just give a very short and pithy summary of why I went ahead and bought a 4x5 camera now, I would say that it's just because it seems like there's this resurgence of film that is happening, and it has me somewhat paranoid that this is, the last and final kick before we see a decline in film. Just because we're having all these things happen right now doesn't necessarily mean that 4x5 Ektar 100, 4x5 Portra 160, or 4x5 Portra 400 are going to be around that much longer. It might shift towards more so the 35 and 120 side because 4x5 is a little bit more cumbersome and there may not be that many people interested in the future to keep up some of the color stocks that I'm more interested in shooting. So that's my rationale. Maybe I just had a few dollars in my pocket and I had to spend. Speaking of price, the Crown Graphic camera cost me $250, which was not too bad considering the quality of the camera. It's in very good condition. I would describe it as pretty much mint aside from one issue that I'll bring up in just a moment. And I purchased the camera from National Camera Exchange at the recommendation of another Nico Kazels. He actually sent me the link to this particular camera, which I purchased thanks to watching some of Nico Yacera's YouTube videos. Alright, I have a shutter release cable here just so I can illustrate the issue with the camera currently and why I ended up messing up those two exposures. So when you use a camera in bulb mode, at least what I'm used to, is you press down and while you're holding the shutter release cable triggered down, the bulb, or I should say the shutter, will stay open until you release it. So what was happening with the Graflex camera is when you'd press all the way down, it would open and close the shutter immediately. So you get maybe a half-second exposure instead of 2 to 3 seconds, which was what I wanted in this case. Now in T mode, if you press the shutter release cable down, it will open the shutter and the shutter will stay open until you once again press the shutter release cable to close it. So T mode works exactly as expected, but bulb mode does not, and unfortunately I chanced both shots in bulb mode and ended up with half-a-second exposures when I needed exposures that were a couple seconds long. So now I know I need to use this camera on T mode instead of bulb mode if I'm going beyond a 1 second exposure, and that's fine. I can work around that very easily, so I have no plans to send it back or anything like that. Oh, by the way, I should mention that these came free from National Camera Exchange, which is where I purchased this Graflex camera. And it's not because they're sponsoring this video or they saw my content or anything like that. They don't know who I am at all. I just let them know that this is my first 4x5 camera. I have no gear and I'm looking to build a kit. So I was wondering if they had any spares. And they did have 3 spares and they gave them to me and they're in pretty good condition. I'm using them. This one right here is the one I used for those negatives, and we know that it works perfectly. So, you know, for a second I was thinking maybe I should get a couple more, but I will stick with these until I really know that I need to move on to either better film holders or more film holders. So for now, I'm good. So thank you, National Camera Exchange. Alright, now that we have that out of the way, I'd like to go ahead and switch on over to Lightroom because I have a macro scan of the negative that I completed and I can go ahead and invert it using Negative Lab Pro. Oh, by the way, one more thing, I should mention that I definitely have to reschedule with the model in this case because we know I messed up the exposure, but the reason I'm making the shot is so I can make a darkroom print for the photographer that I took a picture of. His name is Nick, and he happened to gift me this Yashica Matte 124G, and I have to say thank you so much. A darkroom at his local area closed down. He happened to volunteer there, and this camera didn't have a home, so he gifted it to me, and I really appreciate that. I love Yashica mattes. I actually have a Yashica that's on loan right now. I'm not keeping it, but this is an amazing gift, and I plan to use this for my next photography project. So I've definitely broken the one camera, one lens rule. I'm sorry, guys. I can only do it for so long. All right, let's go on over to Lightroom now. All right, we have the negative scanned here, and I'm about to change the white balance using the border. That's the first step, and then we're going to crop it to a 4:5 aspect ratio and remove the border. Now, this isn't so necessary anymore since Negative Lab Pro has a feature that allows you to just ignore a portion of the negative, but I just do this out of habit, and I usually don't keep a border in my negative. Okay, I usually leave all these settings on default. Notice that it says DSLR in the scan area because it automatically picked up that this was a RAW file. And by the way, remember to hit convert negative instead of hitting apply. I always hit apply instead of convert negative. So pull it back up, convert, wait a little bit, and voila, we've got the negative inverted. Now you will notice that I definitely screwed up. I mean, this is very underexposed, so it created these harsh shadows. Not the most flattering picture. I really apologize, Nick. I'm gonna have to get you to come back out to the classroom so we can definitely do this over and do it the right way. All right, that's it for me, everyone. Thank you once again for joining me on Certain Exposures. I hope to see you in the next video. If you have any questions about anything that I covered in this video or even in previous videos, go ahead and leave a comment and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thank you. Take care.